What's up YouTube, this is BioStandardX79 guys. Today I'm coming to you from my latest deck profile video for July 2021, and today guys we're going to be looking at my updated Code Talker decks. Now, in my opinion, Code Talker is kind of the more underrated Cybers archetype that's out there. It was utilized by the anime protagonist Playmaker in Link Friends, and because of that it's gotten so much support over the course of the Link Friends era. Even with the addition of cards as promos, the deck really powered itself up towards the end of the Link Friends era, and I can tell you right now, it can do some pretty damn awesome things. You can extra link your opponent, you can lock your opponent out from being able to special summon, and this deck can actually generate some pretty good advantage as well. So yes, I am really loving the way this deck plays and how it can actually defend itself as well. And to be very honest, since it's underrated, a lot of players don't really know that much about this deck, so you're going to take them by surprise and still wins with this deck. So without further ado, we're going to go into this profile. So first off, we're going to do the code monsters for the main deck. We got 3 copies of Microcoder. It's a must of as a 3. We got 2 copies of Code Generator, and then we have just one copy of Code Radiator. Okay, now, as long as you control another Cybers monster on the field, and these cards are in your hand, you can actually utilize these cards as link materials for a Code Talker monster while they're in your hand. Furthermore, they net you all sorts of advantages depending on where they're sent from. If they're sent from the hand, you get one particular advantage. If you're sent from the field, you get another advantage. In the case of Microcoder, sent from the hand, you could actually search your deck for any Signet spell or trap, Signet spell or trap to add to your hand, which is huge. Just being able to access your support cards in that way is just awesome. If it's sent from the field to the graveyard as a link material for a Code Talker monster, you're searching your deck for a level 4 or lower Cybers monster to add to your hand, so not bad. It gives you an additional search, so definitely awesome. Code Generator, when it's used from the hand, you force burial monster with I think 1500 or less attack to your graveyard, which is great. You can help set up plays for your combo string. Very useful. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you're actually going to be able to add a Cybers monster with 1500 or less attack to your hand instead. And Code Radiator, if it's sent from your hand to the graveyard, you can target one of your opponent's monsters. Its effects are negated and its attack is bottomed out, and that's pretty much a permanent effect. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you're targeting 2 monsters for that effect, and yeah, just being able to bottom out your opponent's monster's attack and negate their effects, very huge, because it allows you to punch through some pretty perilous boards sometimes. Moving on, we got a couple other 3-ofs. We have 3 copies of Lady Debug. On summon, you're searching your deck for a level 3 or lower Cybers monster to add to your hand. She's just an amazing starter card, and she's worth running at 3. And then we have the last 3 of in this deck, and that's going to be 3 copies of Nightmare Corruptor Ibli. What can I turn around and say about Ibli? Ibli is just an amazing card. If this card is sent from your field to the graveyard for the summon of a Link monster, it's special summoning herself to your opponent's side of the field, and from that point on, once she's on your opponent's field, your opponent can only special summon Link monsters. I can tell you right now, if your opponent's relying on fusions or Xyz or synchros or even pendulum summoning, they're going to be hard pressed to deal with this card. With that being said, you add in one particular other card and it's going to make the lock even harder for your opponent. So she is definitely worth running in your deck. Not only that, but since she only allows your opponent to special summon Link monsters, she's also an anti-Nibiru card. So yeah, she puts in a whole lot of work, and you can get her onto the field early in your combo. So definitely something you want to be on the lookout. Alright, a 2-of in the deck, Parallel Exceed. The reason why we run 2 is because this deck is able to search it out very easily. Anytime you link summon a monster, you can special summon 1 Parallel Exceed from your hand to the zone a Link monster points to, and then the other one, which is in your deck, is special summon alongside of it, which is actually pretty cool. Extra bodies in the board allows you to do a lot of other things. Alright, so some 1-ofs. We have the Link Infra Flyer, special summon itself to a zone like monster points to. Control Cyberus monster, Cyberus Converter can come out. Sea Archiver, special summon itself to a zone like monster points to, whether it be from the hand or the graveyard. We got Scriptron. Now, Scriptron is actually one of those cards that can actually be utilized more later in the duel. It's more of a recovery card, in my opinion. Basically, you banish a Cyberus monster from your graveyard to special summon it to the field, and then if this card leaves the field, I think for a link summon, you could actually target one of your banished Cyberus monsters to add back to your hand, so you can recur some resources off of this card. We got the Gachiri at Ignister. Target Cyberus monster you control in the field. You negate its effects, it special summons itself onto the field. If this card ever leaves the field, you can target one of the Cyberus monsters you control. It becomes unaffected by your opponent's card effects until the end of the turn. So actually, having that protection does help out. We got Dotscaper. Typically what you're going to want to be doing is sending this card to the graveyard off of Co-Generator's effect. This way it can special summon itself to the field and just be able to utilize to help build your board. Format Skipper. This is another way to get into your Parallax seeds, and it's pretty easy to actually utilize in this deck. We got Sim Talker. Or Sim Tabulator. Excuse me. Sim Tabulator is actually pretty awesome. Reveal this card in your hand. Target a Cyberus monster in your graveyard. Special summon this card to a zone the link monster points to, and you get that card you targeted from the graveyard back into your hand. So you can recur resources in case your opponent interrupted you, and still be able to continue to combo up. And last but not least, we have Cyberus Gadget. Gadget is actually a pretty awesome normal summon, because on its normal summon, you target a Cyberus monster in your graveyard to special summon it back to the field, and from there, you're able to build your board. And when Cyberus Gadget leaves the field, you get a token in its place. Again, more bodies in the board can just allow you to do a lot of things. I know it's only on its normal summon, but with Signet Optimization giving you an additional normal summon, it's actually worth having in your deck. Alright, that's it for the monsters. Going on into your spells. One copy of Call by the Grave. This is a combo center deck, and you want to be able to protect against hand traps. 3-net of the amazing Signet Codec. Signet Codec is pretty much the linchpin of this deck. Anytime you summon a Code Talker monster, you're able to search another Cyberus monster with the same attribute to add to your hand. You can only do that once per attribute per turn, but still worth it. It just allows you to access your resources so much easier, and you're able to build your board a whole lot quicker. Moving forward, we have 3 copies of Signet Mining. Pitch a card from your hand. Search your deck for a level 4 or lower Cyberus monster. 1 copy of Signet Optimization. Yes, it gives you an additional normal summon, but also it gives you all your Code Talker monsters the ability to be unaffected by your opponent's card effects during the battle phase, which is actually pretty good. Foolish Burial, again, to get certain cards into your graveyard. Monster Reborn, to bring back cards from either player's graveyard. Great Extender. 1 for 1. This gets you into your Microcoder or Format Skipper. Salmon Great Sanctuary. This is what's going to help with the Ibli lock, because since Ibli has only 0 attack, you can utilize this field spell to actually bottom out any attack of your own monsters. In case your opponent tries to crash Ibli into one of your monsters, you can just bottom out that attack, and because of the way the rules work with 0 attack monsters, nothing happens, and you can keep the lock in place. And then, of course, 1 copy of Upstart Goblin. You want to see extra cards. This deck doesn't really care if you give your opponent an extra 1,000 life points. Alright. For the traps, we have 1 copy of Signet Conflict. It's just an amazing counter trap. It's basically an Omni-Negate when you control a Code Talker monster on board. It'll negate the activation of a spell, trap, or monster effect. Banish the card, and then your opponent won't be able to utilize cards with the same names for the rest of their turn. And I can tell you right now, if they rely on multiple copies of particular cards in one turn, yeah, this is going to hurt them hard. And the last trap I'm actually running is 3 copies of Rivalry of the Warlords. The way I figure it is, Ibli locks your opponent into summoning only Link monsters. This will lock your opponent into only summoning Cyberse monsters. So if they don't have a Cyberse Link monster in their extra deck, you have Sanctuary on the field and you're backing up with enough interruptions, yeah, you pretty much have game at this point. Alright, and that's it for the main deck. 40 cards into the extra deck. We'll start with the Link 1s. We have Link Graybow. Link Graybow is just an amazing card. Great to have on your board as extra layer of protection in case your opponent tries to utilize trap cards to get activated from the hand, like Infinite Impermanence or even Evenly Matched. This card will contribute itself and negate that trap card. Up next, Talkback Lancer. Very important card to actually be able to complete your extra link. We have 2 copies of Salamangreat Baylings. The first copy will search out your Sanctuary. This you then will use Sanctuary's effect to actually reincarnate, link it onto the field. So now you have a protection for the first Baylings against your opponent's card effects, which is actually pretty cool. For some Link 2s, we have Code Talker. Typically, you're going to be summoning this card out first to be able to search out what you need. Inverted Code Talker is an amazing Code Talker extender. It special summons a Cyberse monster to a zone it points to when it's Link summoned. We got 1 copy of Splash Mage. Splash Mage can special summon a Cyberse monster onto the field from your graveyard. Very cool extender. And then, of course, last but not least, we have Update Jammer. Update Jammer is pretty necessary in this deck because any Link monster that uses this card as a Link material basically is allowed to attack twice, and typically you're going to be wanting to utilize this card with in making Access Code Talker to basically be able to punch your opponent hard. For the Link 3s, we got X-Code Talker. X-Code Talker, on Link Summon, can target one of your opponent's monster zones and render it unusable, which is cool. Any card it points to gets 500 attack, so very useful in your extra Link boards. Shooting Code Talker, while this card isn't readily utilized for its effects, it's typically summoned to search out your Sea Archiver or your Scriptron, but to be very honest, if you do use its effects, it can actually attack all your opponent's monsters at once and net you even more draws, so not bad. Of course, the one Code Talker you want to be running multiple copies of is 2 copies of Transcode Talker. It's just an amazing board builder. Summon this card out, it targets any Link 3 or lower Link monster, brings it back to the board, and from there you're able to further build your board up into what you need. And typically what you do to be doing is going to the Link 4s. Now the one Link 4 that actually came off the ban list and you want to leave on the field is Firewall Dragon. Firewall Dragon, even though both effects are once per turns now, it still is just an amazing extender. Anytime a monster it points to leaves the field, you get to special summon a Cyberse monster from your hand, or another monster from your hand to the field, which is awesome. Just allowing you to keep your resources going and be able to build your board. It also has that quick effect where it can just give you a compulsory evacuation device effect, knock off one of your opponent's monsters, so it interrupts your play. So definitely it's a worthwhile addition to any Cyberse extra deck. I mentioned this with Update Jammer. We have Access Code Talker. With the number of attributes you could put, of Link monsters you could put into the graveyard per turn, yeah, this guy is pretty easy to bring out. Typically, you're using a Link 3 to bring it out. It goes up to 5,300. With Update Jammer, 2 attacks can actually get you pretty much game at that point. You can pop a lot of different cards off your opponent's field with this effect, so yes, definitely worthwhile. Now, if you don't want to go into Access Code Talker, but you want to have some protection on your field, we got Mech Knight Crusadia Avramax. It is a Cyberse type monster. While it cards in the field, your opponent is forced to attack it and only it. It has a built-in Honest effect, which means anytime it battles your opponent's monsters, it's going to gain the attack of your opponent's monster, so that's pretty awesome. And if the opponent manages to get it off the field, it actually bounces one of your opponent's cards off the field along with it. So yeah, you're really able to break your opponent's board up regardless. So it's definitely a worthwhile card to have in your extra deck if you want to have that extra layer of protection. Guys, that is it for my Code Talker deck profile for July 2021. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this on my channel, make sure to subscribe and enable notifications so you don't miss any uploads. check out the description box below. Find the invite link to my Discord server. Join the conversation. We'll love to have you. Check out my affiliates, tgtplayer.com, as well as sidedeckversus.com. Great resources for any Yu-Gi-Oh player. Follow me on social media, and until next time, guys, peace.